Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned into another episode of the Paul Leslie Hour. And now your host, Paul Leslie.
Hey, it's me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real treat to be with you and an honor and monumental occasion to be joined by singer and recording artist B.J. Thomas. He has sung so many beloved songs. One of the signatures is, of course, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, which we are celebrating more than 50 years since its debut, 50 years since its recording. Our guest, B.J. Thomas, ranked in Billboard's top 50 most played artists of the past 50 years. He's a 5-time Grammy Award winner with 70 million records sold. B.J. Thomas, it is a pleasure, sir.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Paul. Great to talk to you.
It's great. So, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. Any idea about why the enduring life of this song?
Well, of course, I've had time to put a lot of thought into that, and I've had so many conversations with the great Mr. Burt Bacharach, and of course Hal David, who wrote the lyrics. And I think that Raindrops had a lot going for it. It had, Burt Bacharach was one of the greatest composers of all time. Hal David was a great songwriter. It was in a really good movie. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, one of the top westerns of all time. And that whole score for the movie is just brilliant. And this song is just a one of a kind. I mean, it's very simply put, but the lyrics are very meaningful to people. I mean, the raindrops will fall on your head, but as long as you're free, nothing's worrying you. And I think it has a deep meaning that people have connected with over the years. And I've had many conversations, as I said, with Hal David, and we both agreed that this song was just a perfect meeting of writer, composer, vehicle, the movie, and singer. We think it doesn't happen very often in music, but when it does, it can create something really special and enduring. And I think that's what Raindrops has done.
Well, as a child of the 80s, it's one of the very first songs I can remember my parents listening to on the radio, and it's just such a great song. What was your very first impression of the song when you first became aware of it, when you first heard maybe the demo?
Well, I had been recording in Memphis, Tennessee, and when Florence Greenberg, the lady that owns Scepter Records in New York City, came to me, and at that time I was living in Memphis, and she said, "BJ, would you move up to New York City?" And Gloria and I had just gotten married, and we said, "Well, yeah." She said, "If you move up to New York, I think I can get you a session with Burt Bacharach and Hal David." So we did move up, and it's still some of our favorite years in our marriage is the years we spent in New York. But when I moved up, I started working with Mr. Bacharach, and immediately, if you're familiar at all with his craft, his songs are a little different. They have a little different kind of edge to them, and I think it had a lot to do with Hal David's lyrics. And Hal David just wrote from the heart. He wasn't trying to rhyme or anything. He just was writing feelings from the heart, and Bacharach was putting them to kind of the unique meter and cadence. So when I first started hearing this stuff, I realized, this is very different, and this is the kind of songs that I don't need to just make up my own version and feeling. It's already written there, so I determined to stick with the script. And Mr. Bacharach's melodies were so distinctive, and I knew that the smart thing to do was to stick with that melody and not improvise at all at this level. So I kind of realized that right off. So when I started learning Raindrops, Raindrops admittedly is a little quirky, and it's a little different melody, which radio resisted for quite a while when it came out. But I just stuck with the program, and then I discussed it with Mr. Bacharach. I mean, can I do my own thing? And he said, I want you to sing it exactly as I've written it. And if you have room to do your own thing, you can do it. And so, of course, I did my thing on the end, on the word me. I kind of did a lick or two on that, but he had a way of just writing some unique in such a unique way, and the lyrics were so meaningful that it just it would get to people, and most everything they wrote, became classics. So became classic material for Dionne Warwick and Herb Alpert and myself, and just one of those once in a lifetime experiences.
I'm really glad that you're talking about the songwriters here. I just love and am in awe of songwriters, admittedly, and Bacharach.
Well, me too.
Yeah, and I wanted to know, your other signature song, I would say, would be Hooked on a Feeling, written by the great Mark James.
Yeah.
What do songwriters mean to B.J. Thomas?
Well, I think they just mean everything to me. I'm not a writer. I've written a few songs, but I'm not a prolific songwriter, and it probably is because I've always had so many good songwriters around me. Even when I first got into a band, one of the members of the band was a great little songwriter and wrote my second hit and wrote a song that became a hit after I'm So Lonesome. So I've always, and in Memphis was a great experience because before you started recording, you would sit down with the songwriters and discuss what you were thinking and what you had in mind, and they would tailor songs right to you. And of course, with Bacharach, it was certainly a unique experience where this guy, you were just kind of trying to become a part of his genius and do and interpret the things that he had written. So they Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil wrote a couple of things for me. I Just Can't Help Believing in Rock and Roll Lullaby, and of course the great Mark James. And Mark, I had a few slow songs, kind of sedate songs to start my career, and so Mark wrote The Eyes of a New York Woman and Hooked on a Feeling for me, trying to kind of give me an upside to it. So I've always had that great relationship with some of the best songwriters of my time. And so songwriters they mean everything to me.
What would you say the biggest compliment you've ever received would be?
Well, I got one from Mr. Bacharach. I didn't work with him a lot because I had a kind of a huge, I had a big thing going on my own, and I didn't have to really just tag along with him. But I did perform with him a few times over the years, just a few years ago, as a matter of fact. And, he took me aside one time and he said, BJ, out of all the people that did Raindrops, he said, you're the one that did it right, and you're the version. Of course, I did it with him. So, but he said, yours is the version I love, and I think is the best one. So, coming from him, I kind of came back in my generation. If you had a huge record like Raindrops, there would be so many people who would make an album. There was Andy Williams and various people would do their version of it, and so there would eventually become many versions of the song. Even though you had the hit, there would be other versions. But especially with the Raindrops, I think Raindrops was just the perfect meeting of lyric, music, vehicle. The great movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and singer. I think it doesn't come together that well very many times in this, in the music industry, but I think it did that time, and that just made it work the best it could do.
Okay, this is a tricky question, but I really want to know.
Okay.
What do you, B.J. Thomas, what do you think is the secret to living a good life?
Well, I'm still looking for that. I'm like anybody else. I have a daily struggle to live as I think I should. I've had much drama. I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life. I've had the problems with alcohol and drugs. I had kind of a, God bless my parents and I love my family, but I had a little tough younger life, and so that secret of life, I think, is hard to find. It's hard to define. But as the good book tells me, the golden rule will get it done. I mean, to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and if you can do that, then everything else kind of takes care of itself. Whatever your faith may be, if you treat others as you would have them treat you, that kind of takes care of the thing. So it's a daily struggle to be the right kind of person and to be the best person you can. But I try to adhere to the golden rule and as closely as I can.
Very good. A lot of people in this year 2020, they're doing whatever they can to get through, and for a lot of us, that means listening to music. And I'm curious, what have you been doing to get through this year with the disease going around and just a lot of turmoil in the country? What have you been doing?
Well, that's I guess it varies. I am listening to music. I still like the old school music of my generation, and so I listen to a lot of that. And that includes Elvis and Motown and Al Green and just whatever. But I've been quarantined here over 4 months now. Since March 15th, we've been in-house and really taking it, being very careful because we're right here in Texas, and this is one of the worst spots. So, but just to keep my voice in shape, I have started listening to. I'll get my greatest hits album out, and I've still got a stereo. I like to listen to it like that, and so I'll get my greatest hits out, and I had various albums. I get about 3 of them out, and I'll sing each album, just trying to keep my voice in shape. And it's been good for me to hear the original recordings, and I've enjoyed listening to some of the older stuff. But that's kind of what I listen to is more of my generation. I think 50s, 60s, 70s was the greatest music of all time, and that's just my favorite music. So if I listen to anything, that's what I do. Of course, there's got a lot of Elvis in there, and right now I'm just working with my own stuff. So it's been fun. I mean. But since I am a professional, singer and musician, if you will, sometimes music will become work to me. So I feel glad to get away from it somewhat at times. But I've been away from it so long now that, of course, I miss the road and I miss my involvement, miss the fans, miss doing the live music. So I've just, as I said, pulling out some of my old songs and my greatest hits and singing with those things and staying in shape as best I can.
I take comfort in the fact that you're singing. I like that. I
Thank you very much.
I know that a lot of people are going to be really, really anxious and very excited to see you and hear you in concert. And you have so many fans, me included. What would you say to everyone out there who is listening to this interview?
Well, I would say thank you. I would say thank you to you and to all the listeners for keeping me around all this time. I think one of the things I'm most proud of is the longevity the interest in my music, and people still appreciate it. And in some ways, they almost need to hear the music from my time worse than ever. We have so many memories and feelings tied to it, so I can relate to that. But thank you would be what I would say to them. I appreciate their faithfulness and still coming to my concerts and hearing me sing and supporting me. And, that's been one of the best, as far as my career goes, that's the best and the best thing you can have. And the only thing you can ask for is for people to like your music and want to hear you sing it. So I've been very lucky in that area.
I put these labels on you at the beginning of the show. I said singer, recording artist, Grammy Award winner, and I can also say that you're a member of the Grand Ole Opry, and on and on. Who would you say B.J. Thomas is at heart?
Well, I don't want to get too philosophical here, and I don't want to sound silly, but hey, I'm just another guy. I'm just a human being to begin with, and I'm a husband. I'm a brother. I'm a father, and singing is what I do, and who I am really more or less relates to my family and my loved ones. But singing is what I do. It's such a big part of me now that I've been doing it so long. But basically, I'm just a human being, father, husband, and singing is what I do. It's not exactly who I am, but there's so much of the who I am in my music at this point, and always really has been, that I can't say that it's not a part of who I am.
Well, everyone out there is invited to go to bjthomas.com. When I found out I was going to be interviewing you, it made my day, and I'm sure it's going to ride on through the week. B.J. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Paul. Very interesting. I really enjoyed talking to you, brother. Take care.
All right. Godspeed. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Paul Leslie Hour. Hosted, written, and produced by Paul Leslie. Intro theme song, Alexander's Ragtime Band, written by Irving Berlin, performed by Dan Barrett. Outro scatting G Things, improvised, performed, and produced by John Goodwin. Until next time.
Goodbye.